trying to dig the ball out of everywhere. So I don't think he's been that bad, really. So it's perfectly reasonable for me to assume he's just going to keep trending the right way. And, I mean, he might never be as good as, I don't know, like an Adrian Beltre type guy or whatever, but I don't know. I'm not worried about him. And we have the guys. I mean, if we really are nervous and we're trying to protect a 3-run lead, I mean, you could bring a Holt type guy in and just plug him in there at third, late in the game.
Yeah, you could move guys around. You could honestly, Nunez is better at third than he is at second.
Yes.
You could realistically Nunez at third and then put Holt at second.
Right.
Exactly what I was thinking.
That much, which I don't think you need to. I mean, his field percentage this year is a .932. A lot of that was from the beginning of the year. He's fielded 12 double play balls, so he's done really well, I think.
Yeah, the first month was rough. Like, I think at one point he had like a third of all the team's errors. The last 2 months,
it was really bad.
He's like completely cleaned it up. I'm actually really proud of the kid.
He's dug himself up all something Cora's allowed these guys to do all year, which I've been very impressed with and very happy with. Is that these guys make a mistake and then back up for the next night, or they're taking a day off and get back in the lineup and the next day after that to get their opportunities back. So I love it.
Right. And do we know what's going on with Brandon Phillips?
I think he's just getting his stuff together down in.
He's getting back in playing shape, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say getting his shit together, but it's kind of together. It's just getting back into that routine, that shape.
Right. And if he gets to play second, like I think he's going to be phenomenal because the Red Sox will have a guy at second base who is a defensive ace, one of the best second basemen of this generation when it comes to defense.
Yep. And he can hit the ball. Not that he can't hit.
If he still
Would
is
he hit 268 last year?
What was that?
Would he hit like 268?
285, I think.
Hey.
It was up there. He was doing really well. He's a good player. If he still has some left in the tank, it's a big help. And it's another one of those moves that's low risk, high reward, like the Steve Pearce move, which, really paid off in the last game of the series because Mitch Moreland out with back spasms, probably the only blip on the entire, trip there. So hopefully that kind of, relax a little bit. He could play tomorrow and be fine. They might give him the day off, depending if a lefty's pitching. I don't know. I know it's Sale tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. So feel pretty good about that game.
Yeah, and if you just want to go over that now, we can.
Hamill
is just freaking terrible.
Woo, he's been bad. I mean, he's been better as of recent, but you could not start worse than him this year.
Actually, I think, no, in his last 3 games, he's got a 9.19 ERA.
Woo, okay. So last 3, there was a little stint there for like 4 or 5 games. He was starting to reel it in, but yeah, that's right back to it.
Yeah. Throw the damn towel.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And he was their ace at one point last year, I feel like.
Yeah, that's not good.
One of their top guys, yeah. This Brad Keller guy, though, I guess has been pretty impressive through basically his first several starts. He joined the rotation at the end of May, so I'm guessing he's probably only got 4 or 5 starts. And threw a complete game against the Mariners in his last start. So what's interesting there is he's going up against, Mr. Choke Artist, David Price. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, let's see what his ERA just in his last 3 looks like. Yeah, because of that one start, it's over 7. So
yeah, yeah. We're not gonna. I don't think we'll worry about that with those numbers because it's kind of. Yeah. We all know where it's from.
It's bloated a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, it went from, as Dave said, 366 to 428 on the year. So that's massive for one start. Almost 3/4 of a run.
It was so sad to watch, too, because we got to watch a pitching masterpiece on the other side, and we had to sit through David Price.
Right.
So
it should have been an evenly matched start. Like, there was no reason for David Price to suck in that start. He was pitching so well. He was just rolling. And didn't he was scoreless through however many innings he pitched against Anaheim, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He pitched a great game.
Yeah, so there really was no reason for him to go out there and suck.
It was like a
that.
tease.
Yeah, and Gary Sanchez wasn't in the lineup, so
I think
I thought that was a big step.
It was a big step. I'm back on the train that if the season ended today, I want the starting rotation to be Sale, Porcello, Erod with David Price in the pen.
Or
I'm on the same train.
At the very worst, Game 4 with a short leash.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I think he's just because he can help out a guy like Erod who can't get past the 5th or 6th. If Porcello only goes 5 or 6 as well, you could throw him back-to-back days, every other day, whatever.
All right. And Austin, like if somebody had a toy gun to your head, and they said, "All right, Price or Pomeranz, Game 4, who's it going to be?"
Price.
Jeez. No love.
And he's gonna say Price.
Okay.
You could tell me that it's just not good. Like I just pull the trigger. Like, come
okay. All right. Well, I said toy gun, so come on.
Yeah, just pull the trigger.
I'm sure at least 3 people are still going to be offended by that, but
yeah, right.
I'm sorry for everyone involved.
Yeah. Yeah. So all right. I was just wondering, what that start might have done, but yeah. So we're in good shape against the Royals. Junis.
I expect 3.
What's that?
I expect 2 out of 3 for the rest of the month.
Yeah.
If you look at the Red Sox schedule, I expect the rest of the month to be a win, and then we go into the Phillies, and if we split, I'm fine with it. But they should not drop a series the rest of the way. They just shouldn't.
No, definitely
no excuse.
Not. Yeah, and I mean, especially if we're healthy, and we, for the most part, we are. And yeah. So yeah, not much to get excited about. And with the Royals, I mean, isn't it so crazy? Like, because I'm looking at their lineup now, and I'm thinking, all right, it does kind of suck. But when you go back to 2014, 2015, was it really spectacular back then?
Wasn't that impressive?
No,
It wasn't.
And they just don't got. They had guys, the role players, some contact guys. They had speed in the base path. They had great defense, and they had those guys like a Hosmer and Moustakis and those guys there that don't have now. And they're a weird team. We might see Moustakis for one day, then we might not see him again, depending if he gets traded. He could easily get traded this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure he won't be on the team when it comes to the end of the end of the month, but not much.
Maybe we see him at the end of the month against Philly. But...
yeah, he could be. He could be in the Phillies for sure. They could use a third baseman, and he's not bad defensively as well, and could help out there in the National League for sure. But the one thing that everyone's been talking about has been trades recently. Terry actually, I don't know if you tweeted this, Terry, but you sent me a text about it saying, do you think that the Nationals would trade Max Scherzer? And in an ideal world, I do think that they'd also have to deal Harper and Murphy and Herrera and Doolittle and completely blow it up.
Fire sale.
Yeah, completely blow it up. But do you think that Scherzer could end up in Boston realistically? Because I do. If all the dominoes fell, of course.
I don't think we have the pieces, unless we're going to send.
Well, here's what I
Devers.
offered. No, here's what I offered. If you give up, Groom, your top pitching prospect, give them Erod, who is still controllable for like another 5 years, and then just package in some mid-level guys. I mean, could that get it done? Because look at what you're getting, though. You're getting a 34-year-old pitcher, and you're probably going to have to pick up most, if not all, of the remaining salary. So I think it's somewhat realistic. If you're just quiet about it, and then on like July 30th, you make a move when nobody else has. Maybe the Nationals are like, maybe it frees up a little bit of money. Getting Erod might not be that bad. I mean, a guy, Josh Nord from Avid Boston, wrote an article comparing James Paxton's career to Erod's.
Erod's been better.
He's been better?
Yeah, he in the last 2 years or a year and a half since Paxton's come on, Erod's either better than him in every statistical category or almost better. And by almost, I mean if this guy's 100 strikeouts, Erod would have 95 in almost every single category.
Yeah.
It's just that he's throwing a no-hitter and goes deep into games sometimes. But he actually only has like 20 more innings pitched with only like 2 more starts or something like that too. So it's not even that much of a difference.
Right. So, I mean, Erod could still turn into a top-of-the-rotation guy, and they could get a stud pitching prospect who obviously won't be available for probably, let's see, he'll probably come back next year, and then probably best case he'll be available, what's next year? So probably in 2021 or so. But
yeah.
But I don't know. I just think it's interesting, and I don't think. I mean, are you guys convinced that DeGrom's going to be traded? Because Chris, a couple episodes ago, isn't convinced, and the more I read about it nationally, there's just it just seems less and less likely.
We just talked about it on mine, and he doesn't think that he's going to be traded at all.
Yeah, right.
Why it's an absolute mess over there. They got like 2 or 3 different GMs because their current GM's out on medical leave for the rest of the year because his cancer came back, and he's obviously dealing with that, which is obviously more important than baseball. So they do have a little bit of a wreck over there, and because they're such a poorly ran organization, instead of having an assistant GM or somebody that can step up for you, well, for Sandy, they decided to get 2 or 3 different guys to help run the front office. So I think either they're going to blow it up, the entire team. I think Syndergaard's gone. I think DeGrom's gone. I think Cespedes is gone. Or they're not going to trade anybody because they just literally don't know what to do yet. And they have these guys under control. Next year's DeGrom and Syndergaard are under control for the next couple of years. So it's one or the other. It's leaning towards no, considering that we've heard less and less chatter about it. But when it comes to the Max Scherzer trade, if obviously they decided to go that route, they would have to give up everybody else. And if the Yankees weren't involved, I think the Sox could get him, but I would try and throw in David Price in that deal and make a big blockbuster because the Nationals technically could be very competitive next year, even with some of these big-time trades, I think.
Well, you said it best when we were talking the other day, David. If the Mets were a competent organization, I gave you an over-under of, 7 players on the 40?
Yeah.
You said if they were a competent organization, they would trade at least 7 players. But they're not. They're the Mets, so they're not going to.
Nope. Sadly.
With the David Price thing, though, I think if they're going to deal Scherzer, one of their big motivators is to shed payroll, really.
Right.
And the same would be done if they dealt Murphy. Harper is making, I think, like $20 million a year right now. So
Rendon.
I'm kind of boldly assuming he's not going to go back there. So I don't think they would really want to basically break even by, taking Price back in that deal. And they're a team that's not going to go through a lengthy rebuild either. They're not the Marlins. They're not the Royals. They have a ton of young talent. So I don't see that being an attractive scenario. I think we're stuck with Price. I think it's our job as fans to make him as miserable as we can.
I mean, we do a good job of that. The only reason why I think Price could go that way, and this might be a little long-winded, but if, like you said, the Nationals are not a complete rebuild, they're in a retool type situation. And if you're going to trade Bryce Harper, Daniel Murphy, and and Herrera, say you reflip him or whatever, or Doolittle, whatever, and you get rid of these guys, you're going to get top-level talent back. For example, Bryce Harper could easily go for an Acuna or a Torres or something like that. Not those specific players, but someone of that caliber. So if you replace Harper and Murphy with someone of those caliber, along with guys like Soto that you already have, Trey Turner that you already have, they're proven they can play in the major leagues, they're only going to get better. If the Red Sox were to trade for Scherzer, they can still be very competitive next year. They would have Strasburg as their 1, they would have Erod as their 2, they would have David Price